Assalamu alaikum. Well, here we are in our last chapter regarding sihr, or what is sometimes called magic. The name of this chapter is Bayan Shay min Anwa' sihr, explaining to you the different types of sihr. Now remember, there's no such thing as sihr. There's no reality in the word magic. It's an illusion. It's what's causing you to believe there's powers other than Allah, which is why the subject is so problematical, especially in the areas where people are basically uninformed, uneducated, led astray, left astray, because nobody is really dealing with it the way they ought to, meaning the scholars, the shuyukh, the ulama, are not allowed to speak what they ought to speak about. Perhaps they're unaware, so I'm hoping that this small effort on my part on these last days, Dhul Hajjah, where everything is more important and it should be stressed that we should do more. So my niyyah, my intention, is that this will be spread far and wide where it's most needed, which will be, well, everywhere except the Middle East, because in the Middle East, no, let's include the Middle East. I'm trying to be fair. We had this nonsense in the days of my grandparents, great-grandparents. I was told from my Irish side, and then there's a little bit on my mom's side, which is a little bit of Italian. They used to believe in these things, but not my grandparents. The great-greats from the past believed in it. Then I went to Egypt, and I was told maybe my first couple of months there by some other foreign wives that people believe in the powers of like jinn and other entities more than they believe in Allah. And I remember when I heard that, I was shocked. How could you say that? I just arrived in Egypt. I just got married to my husband. That's downright rude. But then I realized that they were right. So I'm going to try to compile out of these 30 pages the most relevant to my fellow Americans, because that's my first duty, is to explain to those who are around me, my kaum, and then also to anyone else who understands English. The reason I read Arabic is so that you can start to love it and it will affect your heart. I know it takes extra time, so I'm going to try to filter this. Let's begin with this hadith. And this hadith is in أبو داود في الطب كتاب الطب. قال أحمد حدثنا محمد بن جعفر حدثنا عوف عن حيان بن العلاء حدثنا قاسم بن قبيصة. These words, I've never heard of these narrators, but anyway. عن أبيه أنه سمع نبيه Sallallahu alayhi wasallam. He's saying that all of these narrators said that the Prophet said, In al-ayyafa wa tarq wa tayara min al-jibt. And the meaning of the word jibt, as we know, is something that is translated as magic. Funny, the name Egypt, right? Egypt, jibt. And also in America, when somebody rips you off in a transaction, we say, oh, I got gypped. This was well known back in the day. I don't know if anyone says it anymore. قوله باب بيان الشيء من أنواع السحر أي بيان الحقائق هذه الأشياء ما حكمها. Meaning, I'm going to clarify this topic and the wisdom in it. وقد سبق أن السحر ينقسم إلى قسمين, divided into two parts. كفر, first part. 2, fisq, second part. Meaning total disbelief, the worst, kufr. And fisq, corruption on the earth. فإن كان باستخدام الشياطين وما أشبه ذلك فهو كفر. So if the people who are doing this are using shaitan to help them, they are kufar. وكذلك ما ذكره هنا من أنواع السحر. And we're going to continue the types. منها ما هو كفر ومنها ما هو فسق حسب ما تقتضي العدالة الشرعية. We're going to explain the difference according to Sharia. الأنواع جمع نوع. It's the plural of نوع. أنواع. النوع أخص من الجنس. It's a classification. لأن الجنس اسم يدخل تحته أنواع. You know, when we say jins, these categories, they're more or less scientific categories used in America in the same way when we used to say the genus and the species in science class. This is really not very relevant, and I don't want to take too much time on it because there's better things that you can know about. Sometimes the meanings are really more relevant for native speakers because they can really understand it better. Let's go on to this one thing. Al-ayafa. Ayn. Al-ayafa. Masdar afa. Yu'ifu. Ayafa. وهو زجر الطير. It's the way the birds talk. You hear how the birds, the birds have different ways of, Suleiman would understand them, but when you hear the sounds, they are very, very different. It says here, it's related to the tayr, litasha'am wa litafa'il, meaning the Arabs used to hear these sounds and they would either become optimistic about the sounds or pessimistic about the sounds. And that is the meaning of ayafa. We have something else called tarq. Tarq is khat yukhatu fil ard. They would draw lines in the sand and they would feel that these lines had meaning, and they would use them either to help themselves or to destroy others. And this is, of course, we used to draw lines in the sand when we were at the beach, and we'd play around with it. And I don't know. It's just, how could anyone think lines in the sand would do anything? Prophet Muhammad drew a line in the sand, but for a good reason. He said, this is Siratul Mustaqima fattabi'u. This is my straight path. We'd start at the top and go down. And then he would draw lines on either side and say, don't follow any other paths, because at the head of each one are shaitan. Shayateen, plural of shaitan. So his line was a good line. So he's going on, that he's saying that ataratan yuzajr at-tayr litasha'am aw tafa'il. Sometimes that these things that are read into the birds' voices would cause people to either go this way or that way. They had so many superstitions. It's almost like I don't even want to give them the credit of telling you how many things they used to do, because it's taking up time. I would like this lesson to be at least 30, 40 minutes. It's called talk. So just know that that means drawing the lines in the sand if you would like to do further research on your own. More and more and more and more and more. It said here regarding these lines in the sand, in the ramal, sand, they would جعله السبيل السحر وكهانة يفعله النساء غالبا. Oh, of course, the women are the main ones who did it. ولا أدري كيف يتوصلون على مقصودهم وما يزعمون من علم الغيب. He's saying, I have no idea how they could connect this with the unseen, but this is what they did. And if nobody's stopping them and telling them it's satanic, they're going to continue doing it. Of course. Nobody would be stopping them. You have to stop this kind of ignorance. Otherwise, are you really wishing that the Middle East and Africa will never straighten out? Is that your wish? Now, I don't know about China, but I do know one thing, that they are totally immersed in magic, in what they believe to be magic. So this is, you might look down your nose upon this and say, why are we talking about this in 2025? Well, most of the world is suffering from it, and guess what? We are now returning back to the days of the ancestors. We have fortune tellers springing up everywhere, tea leaf readers from, the the teacup, and then the leftover sandy coffee, when you finish your dark coffee, there's mud. Oh, they read that too. They turn the cup upside down. Now, someone has taught them that, definitely from the Middle East, because we never had that back in my day. We had palm reading and fortune tellers with the crystal ball. A little bit of it down in New York City. It was like a tourist attraction. The gypsies would do it. Oh, the who? The gypsies. Here, gibbet watarut. There's a good reason to talk about this. Don't turn up your nose at my choices and say, this lady is strange. No, I'm not strange. I just am old, and I know what's going on, and I've seen the progression of ignorance swallowing up my country. Now remember, when it was a strict Christian country, I came from the Catholic side, the other side is the Protestant side. These things didn't go on because people knew that there was something called the devil, Shaitan, and they knew enough to stay away from it. Why? Because they had, now don't take this in any way other than it's purely analytical. They had priests who knew enough and reverend ministers who knew enough. And I'm not praising one or the other. I'm just saying, when you have a strong congregation that warns, you're better off. And I'm not sure that the Buddhists ever warned about anything because they don't have that type of leader. So the only reason I know so much about the Asians is that I used to talk to the Vietnamese when I used to do the teaching of the adult classes. And Asians in general, they're steeped in this. And even though the Buddhists want to portray themselves as being so gentle, so sweet, just nonviolent and all of that, the Asian cultures are steeped in this. So just let's leave it at that and go back to our Arabic, what we're supposed to be doing here. فَإِنْ قِيلَ, and if someone says, قَدْ صَحَّ أَنَ الرَّسُولُ صلى الله عليه وسلم, truly, Prophet Muhammad, أنه سئل أن النبي من الأنبياء يخط فقال من آفق خط فذلك. Okay, so they asked the Prophet Muhammad, did any of the Anbiya know about this, about the drawing the lines in the sand? Man wafaqa khattu? Did anything come of this? فذلك أخرجه مسلم الأول. We're going to analyze it now. أن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم ألقوا بأمر لا يمكن الحصول عليه. Prophet Muhammad could refer to something that it was impossible to happen. لأنه قال فمن وافق خطه فذلك. He said that whoever agrees with this, so be it. وما يدرينا هل وافق خطه أم لا. And we can't know, actually, idrak, it means we cannot really understand if anything came of this writing in the sand. الثاني أنه إذا كان الخط بالوحي من الله تعالى كما في حال هذا النبي فلا بأس به لأن الله يجعل له علامة ينزل الوحي بها بخطوط يعلمه إياها. So it could be that something came to Prophet Muhammad. Let's say what he did with the line in the sand and saying don't follow all these different ways. That's possible if it came down بوحي. أما هذا الخطوط السحرية, but the ones, the lines drawn for purposes of magic, فهي من الوحي الشيطان. فإن قيل طريقة الرسول صلى الله عليه وسلم أنه يسد أبواب جميع خاصة في موضوع الشرك. But Prophet Muhammad would close the door, slam it hard on anything that would help people get near shirk. فلماذا لم يقع يسد هذا الباب? So why was this door not closed? فالجواب كان هذا والله أعلم أمر معلوم وهو عن فيه نبيا من الأنبياء يخط. So he's saying this door was left open. فلا بد أن يجيب عنه الرسول, so that the Prophet Muhammad could talk about it, as we see right here. ومن Egypt, the word Egypt. سبق أن Egypt سحر. We already said it is a form of سحر. وعلى هذا فتكون من here لتبعيد, it means a part of something, على صحيح وليس لبيان. So this word, its meaning, it has to do with magic. أي هذان نوعان من Egypt. He's just telling us that this is part of what people use when they do magic. This is all saying the same thing all over again. Pessimism, optimism. Tasha'um means to be pessimistic. And then they're telling us about how the birds would fly and how they... So all of this is just not relevant for us now. Again, optimism, pessimism, how a Muslim should always be optimistic, never pessimistic. Illusions are always something you should try to avoid. This flying of the birds, the iyafa, when I was young, my mom would say that her mom would tell her that these flying birds, when they were going to travel, they'd look up in the sky and they would determine which way they should go. So if the birds flew on the right, they'd follow that. Let's say, we were going to visit Aunt so-and-so, but now we'll go to Aunt so-and-so because she lives on the right of our house. And things like this, which seem to be impossible now, but I don't think my mom would lie. He's talking more about the birds and the lines in the sand. I don't think we need all of this right now because we will not have time and the lesson will be 3 hours. Just know, beware of these things. It's not good. Now here we have a hadith. وعن ابن عباس رضي الله عنهما قال قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم من اقتبس شعبة من النجوم فقد اقتبس شعبة من السحر. I love this. This is so important. This is from Zad al-Miyad, Waraw Abu Dawood, wa Asnadu Sahih. Anyone who involves themselves with any form of a horoscope or any form of, some would even say, astronomy and astrology. But in America, we put like a difference. It's like, astronomy's okay. Scientists study the stars and the planets. And then astrology is the Burj. They call it Burj. In the Middle East, it's Arabic word, the Burj. They call it Burg, but we don't do gims. Gim is not Arabic. It's the Burj. And they follow closely the horoscopes. Now, this really hit me hard because when we were young, and the ages of, it starts about 9, 4th grade is when children really get messed up in public school. Or I was in Catholic school. What's your horoscope? When were you born? Who's your boyfriend? When you get a little older, like 12. Oh, be careful. Those signs, they would call them the signs. Oh, 2 Virgos can never, it just, what a mess they made out of us. And so we all did it. There would not be a 10-year-old girl anywhere in America in my day, let's say the 50s, who didn't check the horoscope every day because it was in the newspaper every day. So your dad would be at the breakfast table reading the stock market and he'd leave the paper and I'd run right over and see my horoscope. It's all really bad. And it is really real. And they do these things on purpose to confuse you. What else would it be other than using stars, lines in the sand, birds flying, black cats passing, the broken mirrors? I lived with this because I'm old now. Now, I don't know if the young generation has to live with this because all the stargazing and the horoscopes and what year you were born. It's mentioning all of this. And all right, here's one good part that I could, it's very, we spoke about it before, but we're going to speak about it again at the end of this book. The weather forecast. Is the weather forecast allowed, forbidden? What's going on? Well, we have a hadith saying it's called matar. And you know, matar means rain, and it's really important that in Egypt it never rains. And when it does rain, it's a really big deal. Who causes the rain? Well, we know Allah causes the rain. However, there is a saying that they would say, مُطِّرْنَا بِنَوْءِ كَذَا وَكَذَا. Naui is like a star. And they would say it rained because of these stars aligning in a certain pattern. Yani, هذا مطر من النجم. Well, of course, that's shirk. The matar is because Allah decided that it would rain. So, they're telling you to be very careful about any prediction of the weather that has anything to do with anyone but Allah. He's saying here, هو أن يستدل على أحوال الفلكية على حوادث الأرضية. He's trying to explain that they are pointing towards something that happened up there in the sky, the upper sky, the middle sky, the lower sky, can affect what happens on the earth. And this is muharram batilan. And that's why, return to the hadith, that anyone who takes a piece of this has taken a shu'aba min as-sihr. And Prophet Muhammad forbid this. So that should be enough for anyone else. He's saying the kafara bi mu'min bil qawakib. And I'll go on. I mean, this is a hadith which is in Takhraju min, all right, so it was in Min Abi Dawud. He's saying, I already gave you the reference. And it's saying, Man qala matarna bi naw kada wa kada, fadhalika kafir yu'minu bil qawqab. So anyone that says this is a kafir, and he's believing in the power of kawkab. The word kawkab, they used to just say planets. And the Najum would be stars. But now they're saying currently that it's not really a planet. And I'm not scientific. All I know is things up there that move around by the will of Allah. So we say Allah is the first and the last. He's the first cause, and He is the last cause of any event that can ever happen. So don't be misled about this. And then he's saying that the only thing we really need some of this stuff for is to know tawqit as-salat, how to tell time, يجب الإنسان أن يتعلم علامات القبلة, just to know the qibla and how that works, because the Quran says, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وألقى في الأرض رواسي أن تميد بكم وانهارا وسبلا لعلكم تهتدون. So that is a reason, Surah Nahla, that you should know something about. You don't want to be totally ignorant about what is rawasi, Allah's signs in the earth. Because وَعَلَمَاتٍ وَبِنَجْمِ هُمْ يَهْتَدُونَ. Allah says there are signs in the stars that let you be guided. But meaning guided how? You see, this is the لَعَلَكُمْ تَهْتَدُونَ. Marine science, you know, I told you, I'm very weak in science, but compasses, things like that, charts that let seafarers know which way to go, etc. They use these signs, and for that it's a good thing. It's not He even says here, فاستدلال بهذه النجوم على الأزمان لا بأس به. So to know the time, it's not a problem to be using some of these signs that have to do with, إذا طلع النجم فلاني دخل وقت السيل ودخل وقت الربيع. So he's talking about if it's going to rain, it's springtime, فذلك على أماكن كالقبلة والشمال والجنوب. This is okay. So why اقتبس الشعباء من السحر? What's wrong then? When Prophet Muhammad said that, you're getting involved in something bad. ما هو أعم من السحر المعروف لأن هذا من الاستدلال بالأمور الخفية التي لا حقيقة لها. So here we come to the lub of the Mawdua, that when you're dealing in this, you're talking about ilm al-ghaib, something khafi, something you cannot understand what the reason is. And then he says, كما السحر لا حقيقة له. So the sihr, there's no real reason for it, it's not real. فالسحر لا يقلب الأشياء لكنه يعو وكذلك اختلاف النجوم لا يتغير بها الأحوال. So he's saying anything with these star movements is not going to change anything. Zad mazad. What happens, what is increased, zad mazad, is from Allah. So don't think that you're going to figure it out by looking in the stars, except to do the time of the prayer and the qibla and so forth. Okay, now we're talking about spitting on the threads, tying the knots. You all have heard of this. Nafatati fil uqad, when we were memorizing the Quran, when we were very young, and then they would tell us that these bad women, of course, would always be women, would tie knots, and they could hurt you with these knots. النفثة فنفخ بريق خفيف. They would use a little bit of spit, and this was called the nafkh, and that is why it's in the Quran. So, amalau aqda waqda. So even if they did tie something, ثم نفث فيها من أجل أن تحتقم برطوبة فليس بداخل في حديث. ونفث من أجل السحر يفعلونه بعد الأحيان لصرف. Okay, he's saying that sometimes they do this to cause partners in marriage to break up. رجل مثلا الرجل عن زوجته ولا سيما عند الوقت النكاح. And it would be about breaking up a marriage. And then, of course, the end result of this analysis is it can't do anything. So then why do we have Kul A'udhu bi Rabbin Nas, Kul A'udhu bi Rabbil Falaq? Because Allah is trying to make you feel better, because He knows you're going to believe in this. He created you, and He understands that you're going to be messed up. So He told us these two, they're called Ma'udatan. When we say A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim, we seek refuge in Allah from any harm. Now, we know for sure that this is correct. Ma'udatan. Why don't people just believe, okay, I'm going to say these every morning and every evening, which is sunnah, and nothing's going to hurt me? Why? You ask why. Most people don't know, and even if they do get info, they won't believe it, and they won't do it. So sometimes I have to really, put the brakes on, fawr nafsi, and just say, listen, don't feel so sorry for all of these ignorant people. Don't they hear the adhan? Nobody's teaching them anything. They hear the adhan. They live there. La ilaha illallah. They understand Arabic a bit. I mean, they understand that. So what's going on over there? Satan. Very demonic forces trying to crush Islam. And as we know, the Middle East is the pivot point of all of this. They need Tawheed. They have to return. They need good teachers. They need freedom is what they need. Allah will give it to them when they deserve it. And we know that. Another form of sihr is drugs. Al-adwiya wal-aqaqir wa ma ashbahaha. لقد سبق أنه لا يكون مشركا لكن الذي يسحر بواسطة طاعة الشياطين واستخدامهم فما يريد فهذا لا شك أنه مشرك. ومن يتعلق شيئا تعلق شيئا means don't hang things. We did a chapter about this. Don't hang things on your door, don't hang things on your mirror, don't hang things in your car and give them any sort of power, because this is very bad if you do this. Now, here's something, I think I'll save it for the next lesson, because this one I really feel it needs a lot of emphasis. So I'm going to close. No, should I close with it? No, I'll do part 2 starting with this. Al-Abda. Yes, we're going to start right away with Al-Abda. So let me say Salam Alaikum now, and stay tuned for part 2, which will be the last part of our last chapter on sihr. But I feel it's going to be the best part because it's the most pertinent part to our affairs now. 2025. I'll say in America, but all over. Okay, so for now, Salam Alaikum.